It's all about hearts and butterflies. This is a work in progress. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, January the 24th, 2022. It's vlog number 250, and it's day 686 of COVID, and I hope everybody had a good week. So let's jump right into some of the projects I've been making because I've been very productive in this past week. Now, this one you have seen before. But I made an alteration. If you remember last week, I showed it to you, and it looked pretty much like this, except right in here. I have added a thin white border all the way around, and then I put the pieced colored border on the outside. Now, the reason I did that was because I thought without that white inner border, this part, the colored border, was too close to the houses, and because I used fabric that came from the scraps from each of these houses, it was blending in too much. I said I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to change it. I was going to leave it, but I got thinking about it. I wasn't completely happy, so I decided, nope, bite the bullet, rip off those outer borders, put the new inner borders in. I had to add pieces to each of these to make them long enough, but that was okay. I had lots of that fabric left, and it is just a pieced border, so it wasn't a big deal. And put it back on, and you want to know something? I am much happier about this now. Now, a couple of people did suggest they thought it would be better if I did put in that inner white border, and thank you for your suggestion. And of course, my biggest critic, Walter, definitely said he thought it should have this inner white border. So under pressure from my peers, well, not really, I decided to do it, and I'm very happy I did. And I have now put it on Lucy, and it's all done. And here's the finished product. So it's all quilted. It's been bound as well. And just give you a little bit of a close-up here on the quilting. The quilting was done as a pantograph, and I did use sort of a geometric shape. Now, sort of the unofficial rule of thumb, or at least what I've heard before, and I do believe in it, is if you have a quilt that has a lot of straight lines and angles in it, then when you quilt it, it's probably better off to do something that's more curvy and flowing with it. Well, I kind of went in the middle on this one. This is a design that I've wanted to use. It's very contemporary with the squares and rectangles that run around, loop around kind of a thing. They're not completely square because they do have rounded corners. And so I thought that would work okay on this quilt. And I do like it. It does work. To be honest, I think I could have quilted anything on this quilt and it would have looked fine. People really get their knickers in a knot sometimes about picking which quilt design is going to look the best. And you know, I think they all look good, really. So it's all done. And I think it's looking very good. And let's just go over here. And this is the back. I decided to take a back. You know how I always forget to take a picture of the back of my quilts. So here's the backing. You really can't see the quilting on it that clearly. I'm blowing it up here. And you just may be able to pick it out in around here. And that's because I used a light colored thread, a purpley colored thread, and it blended in with the backing. I've got to stop doing that. I have to start being a little bit more bold in my choices of thread when it comes to the backing. I guess I do it that way because it's an old habit where I'm afraid that if I make a mistake in my quilting, it's going to show up, and especially on the back. But, you know, let's get over that. I have a long arm now. Don't have to worry about that. So old habits may be hard to break, but that's a habit I do need to break in the future. Now, what else have I been working on? Well, here's the picture. You've seen this one too. I can't remember if last week or not if I showed you the finished product of this. I think I probably did, but you know, I love this quilt, so I'm showing to you again. It's called the Nine Sisters, and someone asked me why this pattern was called the Nine Sisters, and I had to think about that for a minute. But it's called the Nine Sisters because of this center part. Because if you count the stars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, those are the Nine Sisters. That's where the name comes from. How people name their quilts, you never know. The name does not necessarily always reflect in actuality what the quilt looks like. Um, if someone said to me, pick a name for this quilt, I think I would have said Bright Stars, or I don't know, Glowing Stars. I would have had something with stars in it. But this is called Nine Sisters. So if you're ever interested in getting this pattern, just do a search for Nine Sisters and you'll find it. And moving on, I finished this up on the weekend. Actually, I started it on the weekend and I completed it in basically one day. It's just a table topper. I saw this. It was a free pattern on So Very Easy with Laura. It comes from Riley Blake. So you can do a search on Riley Blake's channel, or not channel, but on, what's the words here? Come on, don't fail me, brain. Website. That's the name word I wanted. Okay. Anyways, you can find it there. I'm not sure what it's called. I think it was Hearts or something. I call it Hearts and Butterflies for obvious reasons, because if you look at it up close, the fabric I used is all butterfly fabric, and I love that butterfly fabric, and I think it came from Timeless Treasures as the creator of it. But in Laura's version of this on So Very Easy, she did it, of course, in reds and pinks because she was making it for Valentine's Day. I'm not a biggie about Valentine's Day, really. But I thought, this is a nice break from working on the quilts. Clears my brain a little bit for the next project. And I've wanted to use this fabric, so that's what I did. Now, quilting it, I just did it on with the walking foot because it's very fast, very easy to do that. And I did not bind it. I used the, what do you call it, the pillow slip or envelope method, where you turn things inside out and outside right and all that. And just top stitched around the edges because this was a quick project. Now, what am I going to do with it? Well, I might put it on a table here in the house next month, maybe for February. Or, I might just put it in my stash of potential gifts. Because it's always nice. I like to have a little stash of potential gifts because in the days when we used to be able to go to other people's places for dinner, I always like to take a hostess gift or host gift. And I'm thinking this would make a nice little hostess gift as well. So, yeah, I don't know. Right now, it sits where everything else sits, on my guest bedroom bed. I should take a picture of that pile of stuff that I have in there and show it to you at some time. Maybe I'll do that for next week. Okay, so those are, let me switch the camera over. Those are some of the projects I'm working on. Oh, I missed one. I started a new project yesterday. Now, I've been seeing, I don't know why, suddenly I discovered that a lot of people are making quilts that look like bookshelves. They have like books on them and things like that with the titles on the spines, and they look like actual bookshelves in a sense. Now, I had been watching, of course, Missouri Star Quilt Company. Sorry, I'm tripping over my lips. I better have some more coffee. And one of those videos had Jenny doing a bookshelf or bookcase quilt. And I thought that looked kind of interesting and a lot of fun. But the only thing that was putting me off was there's a lot of little pieces of fabric that go into this for the spines of the books on the shelf, just to make it look really interesting, right? Plus, there was writing on some of these, like titles. You know how you'll find a title on the spine of a book. And I'm trying to figure out, well, what did people do? Did people hand embroider that on or what? Then, because I said hand embroidered, I thought, I wonder if there are some in the hoop projects, kind of like those things that are behind me over here. They're wall hangings made with in the hoop. So I went looking, and yes, I found one, and I purchased it, and I've started it, and I'm going to show that to you here. Just let me switch cameras over, and here's my first block. And you can see that it looks like a small shelf with some books on it, and those particular books say embroidery, sewing, and quilts. And there can be as many blocks in this quilt as you want. I think I'll probably do it 12 blocks, 3 rows of 4, or maybe 16. We'll see how it works out in size. It will take a while to complete this. But I was talking about this yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live, and somebody suggested, well, do you have a block that has a cat in it? Because there are patterns out there where people have put a little cat on the bookshelf, you know, napping kind of thing, doing what cats do. And of course, you know, I love cats. So I thought, hey, yeah, I don't think this one has a block like that, but there is definitely, I can alter the block so that I could do something like that, either in embroidery or I do it as an applique. And then somebody suggested to me that there's actually some patterns out there. I think Jenny Doan did a pieced cat as well. So I'll take a look at things like that and see what I can find. Also, Walter suggested, well, do you put the names of the books in, or do they come with the program? Well, they come with the program, but I can alter whatever the books are called. And he suggested I put in a book that says The Idiot Quilter. And I'm thinking, hey, that's a good idea. So I will do that. So you can customize these, in other words. As I said, this is going to take a little while. It will be a wall hanging, not a quilt. But because it takes a while to do each one of these blocks, and I get bored quickly, so I think what I'll also do is start working on my next quilt for this month, which is called, I call it Angles, but it's actually called Making Waves, I think. And I have shown that on a previous version of the Idiot Quilter, and I'll show it again to you, but not today. Once I get started with it, I have the fabrics already set aside for it, although I want to review those fabrics again because I'm thinking I need to change those out a little bit more, refine it. So yeah, I've got projects happening here. So that's what I've been up to. So that takes me now to the YouTube channel of the week. And you probably knew this, but I might be a little late to the game. But did you know on YouTube, YouTube has a section that's movies. Now, it is a business for them because you can rent or buy the movies. I guess you can download them to whatever device you want to. But they do have a whole section of free movies. And so if you're a little bored one Saturday night and you're looking and there's nothing on TV or whatever you watch for your movies like Netflix or Disney or whatever, you should check out YouTube because there's a great selection. So here's my review of that. Did you know that you could get movies, full-length movies from YouTube? This is something that's been around for quite a long time, but for me, it is relatively new. Now, the thing about this is many of them are for rental or you can buy them, but there are quite a number that are free. So right here, free to watch movies. So if we click on that, you'll get a list of these. Oops, bouncing around here. But let's just back it up. Free to watch movies. So now they do say free with ads, but you know, if you're watching a movie on TV, you'd have ads anyways. And if you're watching this on a device like an Apple TV or something like that, or on your iPad, you can probably, just like you can on most ads that are on regular YouTube channels, just skip through them. Now, I haven't really tried that yet, but I'm pretty sure you probably can. But you see, they have a very large variety of movies. Now, the one thing about the movies that are on here that are listed as being free, they may be very old movies, or they may also be not that great a movie. They might be more of a B movie. Like, take a look at this one, Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Actually, that's an old classic. That's not a B movie. But some of them, you know, might be somewhat questionable. But if you're looking for something, you know, to watch, you don't want to spend any money, and you've got YouTube already, then why not go through the list? There may be something here that appeals to you. So it's just another resource that YouTube has. Who needs to pay for cable TV anymore? So I have put in the show notes below a link to that section of YouTube where you can find a lot of free movies. And of course, if you're interested in buying or renting movies too, there's lots of them there to select as well. They're not the newest movies, but they may be ones you haven't seen, or they might be old favorites as well. There is also a link for Stephen and Walter Live, and we were going to talk about something that I'm going to talk about a little further today, That's kind of a sad story, but we only got into that in the last 5 minutes. Yesterday was all about sewing machines, it seemed. We had a lot of questions, which is great, about our sewing machines, about buying sewing machines, about different brands. We got into a real discussion on, you know, what brands are the best, and that kind of thing. So if you're interested in that and you didn't see it yesterday, you might want to tune in. And I am so pleased with the number of people that are really starting to join into the conversation on Stephen Walter Live. And that's one of the reasons why I never get to the topic of the week. It's becoming clickbait, actually, with the topic. And that is okay. That is okay. I like the back and forth. I love answering people's questions. I love their comments. It keeps the discussion going. And really, that's what we want Stephen and Walter Live to be all about. Also in the show notes, you'll find the Idiot Quilter episode 150, where I talk about, in that one, about the Quilts of Valor. And I'm sure you've heard of that before. And I've talked about other things as well. There is a Musings. It's called Getting Stroked. Get your minds out of the gutter for that one. But, it's just, I talk about how I handle praise, or why do we want to get recognition and praise and that kind of thing. And there's an episode of So Chatty, episode 44, where Walter and I talk about why we sew, how we got into it, what we've learned so far, why we continue doing what we do. So that's all there. Also, to let you know, and it may be up this week, I have an interview. Yes, it's been a while since the Idiot Quilter Presents had done an interview. I keep asking people out there to volunteer, and I have a person who contacted me. She's in Scotland, and so I've got an interview scheduled with her today at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and that's going to be great. And so that one may be coming out either this week or next week. And then I had another person contact me and say they'd like me to interview them, which is great. And so I've just sent off an email to that person so we can get that set up at some point in time. So I have the potential for, I have one interview for sure. I have potential for another one. And then there may be a potential for a third one. So we'll see. But, really, don't be shy. I would love to interview you. And you know the routine, and you know me on here. I'm not going to make you look bad. That's not my intent. I'm giving you your 15 minutes of, fame, such as it is on my channel. But I haven't had a bad interview yet. Everybody that I've interviewed has been very, very interesting. And they were all people who didn't think that anybody would be interested in hearing what they have to say. Guess what? Everybody wants to hear about you. Yeah, they do. Okay, so that takes me to looking outside my window today. Okay, just let me find today's picture of that. Oops, it's here somewhere. Just a second. Bear with me as I scroll through my... Oh, here we go. Okay. So, this is what I'm seeing today. Doesn't look that much different from last week's picture. Although last week's picture we had a little bit more snow than we have out here today. We still have a fair amount of snow. It's at that stage now, though, where we haven't had any fresh snow in a while, so the snow is starting to get a little crunchy and crispy and dirty. I hate slush. I really hate the look of slush. But this is looking outside my window this morning at 7:41 this morning. So you can see it's a little overcast, although over to here behind the tree, you can see some streaks of light. So I don't know what today is going to be like. It's a little later than that right now. It's about half an hour later and still looking kind of the same. So it may be an overcast day, but welcome to January in Canada. So that's what's outside my window today. And we're going to talk about the snowstorm we had last week. That was happening when I had recorded last week's vlog. But I'll tell you more about that a little later on. But right now, I want to turn my attention to a very sad story that happened this week in the news. Apparently, there was a family that little kids and a baby, and they were victims of somebody who was trying to traffic them across the U.S.-Canada border. In around at the southern point of Manitoba, but on the state's side. Now, most people would know how our border here in Canada works. It's the longest undefended border in the world. It runs from Newfoundland to Vancouver to BC, and not all of it it's not separated by a body of water. Now, here where I live in Ontario, southern Ontario, you have to cross water to get into this province. Um, if you're coming from the eastern, northeastern United States, like you have to cross at Niagara Falls or at Kingston. Both of those have bridges to come across, that kind of thing. But in other parts of Canada, you can just kind of literally walk across the border. Now, because it's more rural, there are not, like, there isn't a wall, although there are days when I say we should build a wall. But anyways, I kind of jest and I kind of don't. But, it's rural. You can go across. There's no official crossing mark. But of course, most people would be out of their brain to do something like that. Well, this poor family paid, I don't know what you call them. They're traffickers. They're human traffickers, are what they are, to get them across into Canada. Well, I guess, as the story goes, this person brought them only so close to the border and dropped them off. And it was several miles, like quite a ways from the border. Got him out of his van, took off, and told him Canada's that way. And off they marched. Well, it's winter. That is not a nice area of either the northern United States or of Canada at this time of the year to be out in the cold, because it's cold, really, really cold. Like, I'm talking minus 30 plus, okay, Celsius. So there's this family trying to do this. Well, they froze to death. I think there was only one surviving member of their family. That just boggles the mind. That is so, so tragic. And those poor people, now, why were they trying to get into Canada this way? Well, maybe they were illegally in the United States. And of course, once they went to the border crossing, they're going to check their papers or lack of papers, and they're not going to let them in. Or they could be arrested or whatever. Now, I said to Walter, maybe they should have gone through the regular channels, borders, and asked for asylum. Because in Canada, we do that. We do. Okay? But then Walter said, yeah, but they might not have been able to get out of the States with that, which is true. Maybe they could have gone to a Canadian embassy or something, but they probably didn't know how to do that, and they were probably frightened and scared. And what I find really sad about this story, beyond the fact that people lost their lives trying to get into our country, is the fact that they were so desperate to get here, to leave whatever their circumstances were. And I don't think these people were criminals or anything like that. They were just trying to have a better life. And that's just so sad. And there's so much of that going on in the world right now. But the other thing about our border system here, and I mentioned at the top of this discussion that we claim the longest undefended border in the world, which suggests that we have really a friendly status with our neighbors to the south, with the United States and all that kind of stuff. And we do, to a certain extent. I mean, there are politics involved, of course, but for the most part, yeah, we're friendly to each other. But we have a big problem with our border. Not only do people illegally try to get across the border to come into this country, but there's illegal stuff comes into this country. And I'm talking about the criminal element here. Drugs get across all the time, smuggled across the border, and guns. And guns, I think, right now is a bigger problem in our country. There was a news report on the weekend, and we have these every day, about gun violence here in our country. In Toronto, not that far from me, we actually have some incidents of gun violence in the town I live in. Okay, it's not a town, it's a city, but it's a very small city. And in most cases, well, all cases, I think they report, these guns were illegally gotten. They were smuggled into our country and they fell into the hands of criminals who, well, go from there. They're not robbing people, they're shooting people, gangs, things like that. I know a lot of people have an image of Canada as that we're very peaceful, people who don't go for violence. Well, for the most part, yes, we are. But we have a criminal element like any country does. And because in the United States, they have it in their constitution, they have the right to bear arms. Getting a firearm in the United States is so much easier than getting one here in Canada. And they're being smuggled in. And our border control can't keep up with it. They can't detect it. They're bringing them in on transport trucks that are filled with legal items. And these guns are getting smuggled in that way. And it's just impossible for our border authorities to detect them. Now, I don't know, in this day and age of high tech, of technology, is there not a way that a big transport truck coming in cannot be x-rayed or some kind of device that, the truck drives through something and anything suspicious, kind of like what they do when they check your bag at the airport. And if they see something in there that doesn't look right, I mean, sure, criminals can always find a way, right? But yeah. So it's just very, very sad. And something needs to be done. This needs to be done because it's costing human lives, not just in the people who are trying to get across, get abandoned on a snowy road in the deepest, darkest of winter to come across the border, but it's affecting people when these illegal items get brought into our country and they're used to kill other people, or in the case of drugs, to kill themselves or whatever. So I don't know. It's a hard reality, and I really feel for those poor people who lost their lives looking for a better life. I really do. So sorry, I'm ending this on a very sad note, but it is reality. It is a harsh reality. And our governments need to do something about this. They need to step up to the plate. Of course, we have seen fine examples of leadership during pandemic. So they can't control a disease. Can they control this? Probably not. Okay, let's move on, shall we? And let's talk about new things I bought this week. Well, not that exciting. I bought a whole lot of filament. I was getting low, and so I bought filament. I'm not going to show it to you because filament, and what I mean by filament is my stuff I use in my 3D printers. So I bought a bunch of that. I bought a new color called Steampunk Rainbow. I'm printing with it right now in the background. Actually, you probably can't see it because my microphone's in the way. Yeah, the printer over behind my microphone. Okay, never mind. It's printing a big project that's been printing now for almost 2 days. It should be done in about 3 hours. Anyways, it doesn't look that steampunky. It looks more olivey color. I saw a picture of it on Amazon and it looked cool. So I don't know. I am thinking, though, when I was unpacking this stuff, maybe I got my boxes labeled wrong. I might have mixed something up because I did buy a filament that they call it bronze, but looks more like olive to it. So I'll have to check that out. But anyways, it's printing away. And I got some filament from my favorite place, make the best filament that I've used. It's a place in Vancouver. It's called Matter 3D, M3D. And their filament is excellent for 3D printing. Never have any problems with it. You have to print at a higher temperature for it, and it's very, very hard when it's finished. Less breakage and things like that. So you might want to check them out if you're into 3D printing. That's m3d.com is the website. Okay, so what else did I buy? Oh, bought some glue sticks. Yay. I have a lot of glue sticks, washable glue sticks, because that's what you use on the bed of your 3D printers to keep things adhered so they don't slip off while it's printing. So I needed some more of those. And I finally got my turntables, my Lazy Susans that I put underneath those utility drawers that I created out of my spent filament reels. and they're working dandy. I just put those uh, real drawer things onto those, and yeah, I'm loving it. And they weren't that expensive. I think they were like cost me $20 for two, so that was pretty good. I would have liked to have gotten them from the dollar store, but when I looked in the last time at the dollar store, they didn't have any. That always happens to me with the dollar store. You know, you get in your mind, you've seen it 1,000 times, but at that point in time, you didn't want it, so you didn't buy it. Then you go back because you do now want it and it's not there. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Okay, so speaking of 3D printing, though, I have a couple of things to show you. So I'm just going to switch my screen over here again. Here you go. Watering cans. Now, the purple one you've seen before. I made that on a 3D printer because I needed something to be able to put the water into my reservoir tank for my big ugly iron that I have, my steam iron. And that's working out dandy for that. But I also start philodendrons, and I have a whole bunch of philodendrons up in my kitchen. Looks really nice, actually. Adds a lot of greenery to the kitchen. And I root them from their mother plant. We have this big philodendron we've had for years, so I've been taking clippings from it and, you know, putting them in water, letting them root, and then I plant them. And I've been making pots and things with my 3D printer for that. In fact, the big job that I'm talking about a few minutes ago that's got about 3 hours left on it is a huge pot. And I'll show that to you next week. It's got a gnome on it, of course, because I'm all about gnomes. But I decided I needed like something a little bit better for watering all those plants up there. I've just been using a measuring cup kind of a thing from the kitchen. So I made this other watering can a little bigger. I changed the dimensions on it, made it a little taller, and it sits up there next to the philodendrons, and it works like a charm. So these are examples of practical 3D prints. So, you know, not everything is, you know, what do you say, frivolous? Okay. Now, speaking though of frivolous, okay, this is frivolous. This is my gnome collection. Yes, I have gnomes, 5 gnomes in various sizes, in various colors. Looks kind of rainbowish-ish. I have a gnome. This is a gnome flower pot, or it could be a pencil holder, whichever you prefer. This is the one that I'm printing right now, but I've made it really big. That's why it's taking 2 days to print. This is actually, I adapted this from, originally it was just this block. I added the gnome. I merged them in my software for this. And this is a telephone, a cell phone stand, or it could hold business cards. And I'll explain that in a moment. And these are not 3D printed, obviously, but I did them in the hoop on my embroidery machine. I found this pattern, and they're trivets. And, you know, hot mats, kind of a thing for your table. So you're kind of wondering, well, why did I do this whole set? Well, this is going to be a gift, and it's a bit of a joke. Shirley at Ultimate Sewing, I had posted a picture of one of my other gnomes on Facebook, and she said she loved it. She'd buy it from me or trade in fabric. And I know that Shirley likes gnomes too, because I gave her a gnome pincushion as part of, you know, things I put together at Christmas time, and she seemed to be really thrilled with that. So I just wrote back in Facebook and put, well, we'll see what we can do. Now, I have no intention of selling her any of this stuff, and I have no intention of trading her. I'm just giving her this set. Be careful what you ask me for, because I sometimes get carried away. So I made all of this for her, and I have it all boxed up, and I wrote out a little kind of comic, well, I think it's kind of comic, explanation of these magical gnome items and what they will do for you and what you can use them for. Now, I mentioned that this one I have in mind is to hold her business cards, because I noticed on her counter at the store, she had her business cards out there, but she had them in just one of those plain standard little acrylic holders. And I thought this would be really cute up at her front cash register with her business cards on it. And this and the pencil holder flower pot are both made out of marble filament. it looks like marble, which I think is really cool. And so I've got this all boxed up now. I've wrapped everything up in a rainbow of colors of tissue paper, wrapped the box, and later this week we'll go over to the store and I'm going to give it to Shirley. And I know it's just going to brighten up her day for sure with this kind of thing. But you know, you might think, well, this is a lot of work to go to for a store owner. Well, Shirley's more than a store owner to me. She's a friend, as far as I'm concerned, and she has done so much for both Walter and myself since we got into sewing. And, you know, I probably wouldn't be as much involved in this as I am if it wasn't for Shirley's help and assistance with various aspects of my quilting career here. So, yeah, it's just my way of saying thank you to her as well, and lighten up her day, because I think it's going to be fun. Okay, so that takes me to a blast from the past. And we finished last week my third trip to Australia. So I'm working backwards in time now, and now I have my second trip to Australia. Now, the second trip to Australia focused on the west coast of Australia. The one you've been watching or been seeing for the last little while was the east coast, Brisbane and the Gold Coast. Now we're over to the Melbourne side of Australia and up to Perth. And well, basically the distance from going from Melbourne to Perth, we had to fly. We had several internal flights in Australia. Australia is a big country. It's the size of the United States. Okay? Basically. So, you know, on the map, you see it, it's a little continent country kind of a thing. You think small. It's not small. No. But what we did, which was different on that particular trip, was we had a rented car. So we flew to Melbourne, but we got our rented car and we drove quite up the west coast to Adelaide and to other places. And then eventually we got rid of the rented car and flew to Perth. So we got to see a lot of the country that way as well. And right now, as I speak of Australia, it's summer there, it's warm. Walter and I were watching last week's video and thought, you know, we'd like to be there right now. We really would. We love Australia. How many times have I told you that? So this is the first day in Melbourne. It was February the 5th, almost 2018, so 4 years ago. Hard to believe, almost 4 years ago when we were on this trip. So I'm going to insert that little clip right here. Hey everybody, Stephen and Walter are here. We're in Melbourne, and we just got up. It's about 7 o'clock, 7:20 Melbourne time, and you can see the view from our balcony of Melbourne. We're going to explore it today. We were really tired, of course, by the time we got here. Huge balcony. Look at it. No table though, 4 chairs. Okay. This is sort of an apartment. It's actually, we think it might be a 3-bedroom apartment, but 2 of the doors are locked so you can't get in there. And we have one huge master bedroom. It's got a little dining room. And this is the sitting area, television, a couple of couches. And Walter's in the kitchen. No coffee maker, they just have an electric kettle and they've got some instant coffee, which I'm having right now, which isn't too bad. It does have a dishwasher, and we discovered last night that when Walter pulled out a knife from the drawer, it was not very clean. So I decided at 2:20 this morning, because I woke up at 2:20 this morning, went to bed about 7:30 last night, I decided I was going to take all the dishes out of the cupboards and put them in the dishwasher. And this morning when I finally did get up, realized I didn't have it on the right setting. It's not a really great dishwasher. It's kind of tricky to put the plates in it. You got to figure out where things go so that the repeller bars don't hit it. We have a full-size fridge, and Walter's looking for the garbage can. It's down there. We have a microwave, we have an oven and a stove. But anyways, Walter's a little paranoid about the dishes to start with because he saw something on a TV program about stuff that comes in hotel rooms that they really don't wash them well. And when I saw that knife, I was a little put off. So I think I figured out the dishwasher now. I went online looking for a manual for it. I don't know what it is about Australia and hotels that are these efficiency units. I know that they only put in the cheapest of appliance, but really, this dishwasher, well, it's better than the one we had in Sydney. I'll say that. That one in Sydney, wasn't that a Smug or something? What was
Snag. Actually, that's considered a luxury line.
Well, I never figured out how to run it, and I don't know, maybe it was just me. Anyways, take you on a little tour down here. Have a huge foyer. This is actually an apartment as opposed to a hotel room. Have a little death trap bathtub. Okay, you step way up in this sucker. And it did have sort of a non-stick coating on it inside, but I wasn't taking any risks. I mean, after all, we're over 60 now. I didn't want to break a hip, so we got a rubber mat from them. It's a pretty basic bathroom. It does have a washer-dryer combination. That's both a washer and a dryer in there, which is one reason why we're staying here, because we only packed for 7 days. And we only have 5 days where we actually do not have a washer-dryer. So that's okay. That way we can travel much lighter. Of course, this is the bedroom. And big king-size bed. Not a lot of decorations on the walls, as you can see. Cupboard, closet. Walter's been in there, didn't shut the door. So anyways, this is our first look at Melbourne, and I will take you out onto the patio deck, balcony, whatever you want to call it. And if you look down here, you can see we're by the railroad tracks, but this is actually pretty much central Melbourne. And that up in there is Federation Square. We had dinner there, actually had a late lunch yesterday up in there. Things were a little bit pricey. 2 pints of beer, $18 a piece. Well, I think we got the cheaper one. $14.50 a piece, yeah. And 2 little personal pizzas, which were very, very good. But for 2 pizzas, it cost us 45 Aussie dollars. And the Aussie dollar is pretty much par with our own. So, yeah, but of course it's the tourist district, so what do you expect? So anyways, we're going to, any words of wisdom, Walter, you would like to give people? We are not live.
No, not right now. I'm still asleep. So.
He's still asleep, yeah. We do have an internet connection. However, it's only 1 megabyte per second. Although if we buy the 7-day pass, that's supposed to get us unlimited and much faster. The girl at the desk said she streams video on it, and that's what we're looking for. So today we'll look into that, hooking that up. I'm supposed to be able to do it from my phone, but it doesn't come up with that. And even though she said just put in and forget the network and try again, it's still not working with that. We've got about 5 hours left on this 1-day thing. Each day you have to renew when you've got the freebie. So we'll check this out later today, because I do want to send some broadcasts and upload this to YouTube as well. So anyways, it's 7:25 in the morning. I heard that.
What? I didn't do that. That's a dishwasher.
Oh yeah, I always blames things like that on the dishwasher. Yeah, anyways, we'll talk to you later. And this, by the way, just for the sake of dating these, because I don't know when the videos will go up. Today is what? February the 5th. And it's Monday. We arrived yesterday in the morning, Sunday, but we don't know whatever happened to Saturday, because we left on Friday. And Saturday just disappeared. It's time travel. So as I do this right now, we're what, 16 hours ahead?
16 hours ahead.
We're 16 hours ahead of any of you in Canada from Toronto. So, of course, for all our Aussie viewers, we're right on time. Okay, we'll talk to you later. So, we are down in the docklands of Melbourne, and we're having lunch, and we got they called it what do they call the beer?
Carlton.
Yeah, but what size is this? We called a jug, but they called it something else.
It's a 1.140 liter jug.
Yeah, but they didn't call it a jug.
They called it a jug.
Oh, did they call it a jug?
They call it a jug.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. And here's the view. So it's kind of a nice area. And actually, the food here is a little cheaper than what we had last night. And the beer's cheaper too. Yeah, that whole jug of beer was $18. What we had last night for 2 pints was $14.50 a piece, so that was $29. So yeah, I think we hit the most expensive place in town last night. Although the prices on food are still pretty high.
Nothing to worry about. However, if there's an emergency in your cabin, please contact our crew using the intercom beside the entry door.
Oh no!
Standing tall as a 40-story building, the Melbourne Star will give you a truly unique view of Melbourne. Not just the view you can see from 120 metres up, but we will tell you about many of the things you can't see that make Melbourne a special world city. Things like its history and community structure. The Star takes approximately 30 minutes to complete one lap of the sky, depending on weather conditions. It moves at just under 1 kilometre an hour, and that gentle, unhurried pace is all part of the experience. Now we'd like you to take out your map if you have one, and open it up. Note that the map is not to scale. It's to help you get your bearings and locate some of Melbourne's landmarks in relation to one another. You'll see that the map has 4 points of the compass clearly marked. If you look up at the roof of this cabin, you'll also see those points marked. Orienting the map is as easy as lining the points of the map up with the points on the ceiling. The Melbourne Star is shown in the centre of the map.
Let's see, we've done the eye in London, we did, what they call the one in Singapore?
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Now we've done the one here in Melbourne.
So it'll be 3 out of the 4. Whatever the fourth one is.
Huh. Maybe they have one in Rwanda, or no, what's that place called? Dora, whatever, the one-horse town we're going to.
No.
Kumbaya.
I think Abu Dhabi or Dubai.
Kumbaya, Dubai, whatever.
No, that's not where we're going. I'm just saying.
No, I know. Well, I was trying to figure out what that place, it sounds like Bachawanda or whatever.
No, we're going to Kumwara.
Kumwara.
And we're going to Ramnabul.
Oh, Ramnabul, that's the place. Ramnabul. Is that the one-horse town? Yes, probably. I'm trapped in a bubble. Oh look, Costco! Costco! We didn't bring our stupid Costco cards.
I took mine out, figured there's no.
Well, that's what I did too. I thought of leaving it in, but then I thought, well, no, there's probably no Costco. There isn't a Costco here. But I wonder if you go in there and you say, well, we're members, we didn't bring our cards, but we're members in Canada. I wonder if they can look it up on their database and.
Or if you can go.
Of course, do we need a case of tomato sauce? Probably
No,
not.
that's probably okay.
Just be interesting to go in and look around and see if they have things that we can get. I wonder if they sell liquor like the American ones do. Yeah, let's get a case of liquor. Liquor? I thought I was supposed to dance with her. More later. So I wonder if this is higher than the Eureka building. No, it's not, because there's the Eureka building way over there. Let's see, follow my finger. That's the Eureka building right there. We were up there the last time.
Looks like we're building a bigger one than the Eureka.
Where?
Well, the green on top.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize that was a crane. Okay. Wait. Up there. Finger. Here it comes. Oh, no, that looks at the picture when I do that. But that is all Melbourne right there. Or Melbourne. I think you're supposed to say it as Melbourne. I don't know. Okay, so we spent the day wandering the city of Melbourne, which is actually a very nice city. Very walkable, very modern, very clean. and all kinds of things to see, do, and lots of places to eat. Actually, I think they have a better variety of places to eat than in Sydney, don't you think, Quilter?
Yeah, that's from what I've figured out. Yeah, they have a more selection, and it seems to be more varied types of food.
Prices are not cheap, but then again, it's a big city, and I don't think they're really any worse than if you were to be a tourist in Toronto. We had a nice lunch. You saw it on the video on here already at a place out in the Docklands, and that was okay. I mean, I wanted a Caesar salad with chicken, but they said it was topped with anchovies, white anchovies, and so I said, well, you know, I didn't want the anchovies, but then it turned out that that was supposed to be in the dressing, and although I like Caesar salad with anchovies in it, I'm always afraid that if they're making real Caesar salad dressing with anchovies, it's going to taste fishy, and you know me, I do not like fish, so that was really not an option. Wonder what this button does. Oh, I have no idea what that button does. But anyways, it's still taping. Yeah, okay, never mind. Play with the buttons while I'm doing this. I was trying to reverse the camera, but I can't seem to reverse the camera. So I don't know why that is. Anyways, so we're back.
Probably it can't while it's doing it.
Maybe. We're a couple of old farts. We're sitting here playing on we just upgraded to unlimited internet here at the hotel. So I'm going to try to upload this video, and if you see it, we'll know that it was successful. And we're enjoying a glass of wine from a 2-liter box we bought at a Woolies, Woolworths, no relation to the Woolworths that used to exist in Canada. They call it Woolies here. And booze isn't particularly cheap either. Beer is
as expensive, if not more expensive, than Canada.
You know, when you buy it just like in a case or in a 6-pack or whatever.
Well, 6 beers cost about over $20, so.
Yeah, and wine was not really a bargain either. I don't know, how much did we pay for that 2-liter box? 20
well, that
bucks?
was $12. That wasn't too bad.
Oh, that was on sale or special or something.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't too bad.
It's palatable. But anyways, that's what you get when you're roughing it on a vacation. Yeah, roughing it. Anyways. So for the next few weeks or so, you're going to see excerpts from that trip in 2018. Okay. Oh, and by the way, I've had people request if I have pictures from trips from other parts of the world that I've been on, and yes and no. Some of those trips, I was not really taking video like I do now because I didn't have an iPhone in those days. But I'm looking for some of those pictures, like I've had a request to show our trip to China. That was in 2010. So what's that, 12 years ago? And I do know where my pictures are. But at that point in time, I was scrapbooking, so I created a scrapbook. But I did save all my pictures on CDs. CDs, yeah. There's a blast from the past. And Walter thinks that he took his small cam recorder at the time too. So I have to look for all of that. So down the road, I'm hoping I can put something together to show you that trip. That's a real blast from the past. Okay. So that takes me to events in the past week. Well, we were talking about snow. Last Monday, we had this big dump of snow. And I'm just getting something lined up here. Thought I'd show you a little video, just a little excerpt of what it looked like out from the patio doors on that day while it was snowing. So let me just switch the screen over. And this is looking out through my patio doors off my kitchen, out onto my deck and into our backyard. Now, our backyard is a forest. There's a fence between it. It's a Boy Scout reserve, but this will give you some idea of what's happening. Oh, I think I had sound on this. Just give me a second here. Let's start again. Okay. Give me just a second here. Pause this, back this up. Okay, let's go. So, we're having a bit of a snowstorm this morning. This is Monday, January the 17th at about 8:15 in the morning. And When I got up a couple of hours ago, there was less snow than this, but it's really gotten worse now. Because look at, I'm looking out my patio doors, and yeah, that snow is built right up. That's snow all the way up. And that's our barbecue. And it's buried. And everything else that's on our deck. So this is a major one that's going to take some digging out of. I should look at the weather forecast and see when they expect this to be over, because this one's pretty bad. So that takes me to what's coming up this week. And well, we do have an important event coming up this week, and it's Walter's birthday on Thursday. And usually we take each other out for dinner on our birthday, but we haven't been able to do that in the last couple of years because of COVID. So I will be cooking dinner, and yes, I can cook. Okay, maybe not as well as Walter, but I can cook. And so I'm making him my signature dish, and he likes this one, so that's a good thing. And that's veal piccata, and hopefully it'll turn out okay. And maybe I'll make a Caesar salad or a wedge salad, or maybe I'll look on the internet and see if I can find something a little bit unusual that we haven't had before. You should never experiment on somebody when you're making them dinner, right? But it's just Walter, so I will. As you know, I already got him his gift because he wanted a vise for his workshop. So I've got him that, and I got him something else too, but can't say anything. Not right now because, you know, he does watch part of this, and so I don't want to give it away. So that's coming up on Thursday. The housewarming for my friend that was supposed to happen last week didn't happen, as I mentioned, and so I don't think it's going to happen this week, maybe the week after. But what else is coming up next week? It's coming up very quick because basically we're in the last week of January right now. So that takes us to February, and on February the 2nd, which is the first Wednesday of the month, we have Craft and Chat. And there will be a link for that in the show notes below, and in all my videos this week the link will be there. And those of you that are on my mailing list for Craft and Chat, you will be getting your personalized invitation with the link as well sometime later this week. And if you'd like to be on that mailing list as well, just send me an email stating such, and I will add you to that. And yeah, but otherwise, the link will be in the show notes. All are welcome. We have a good time. It starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and runs until approximately 4 p.m. But you can come anytime during that 3-hour span that suits your schedule best. Now, I have been thinking about doing, I know that some of you would like to come to Craft and Chat, but you can't because you work. Oh my God, what's that? Yeah. And so I am thinking, I'm playing with the idea, and I'll wait to hear feedback from all of you if you'd be interested, of having pop-up sew days every now and then on a weekend, either on a Saturday or a Sunday. Now, these are pop-up, which means that I won't be giving you a lot of warning about them. It'll be kind of at my whim. And what I'd probably do is the day before I'm going to have a pop-up, I would just put up a very short little video like I do with the reminders for Stephen and Walter Live, just stating when I'm having it, and here's the link for it, and see who shows up. Maybe. If there's enough interest in that kind of thing, then let me know. The other thing that's coming that I'm planning is my spring retreat, the Idiot Quilter Retreat. I've done 2 of them in the past, as you know, and many of you were part of it. Always a good time. They're absolutely free, and there will be prizes, and I'm trying to line up a few guest speakers as well from the ranks of my viewers. I'm not going out to get people who you know, are big names out there, because one, I can't afford to pay them because this is a free event. I don't take any money from anybody for this. And there will be prizes. Again, I just buy those myself, that kind of thing. But I'm hesitating on a date to set for this because there's 2 other events that possibly are coming up in my life that could run some interference here. And so until I find out more about those, then I can plan for the exact date of when I'm going to have the Idiot Quilter Retreat. So stay tuned. I will announce it in advance, way in advance as well, to give you lots of time to plan for it if you want to come to it. So yeah, so that's just an advanced notice. And again, Craft and Chat, February 2nd, 1 p.m. starting time. Come anytime you want, though. You know, if you're not there right at 1 p.m., it's okay. And that's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my time. All are welcome. And we have a good time. Okay, so that's about it for now. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great week. I hope you're staying warm if you're in part of the world that is like us, snowbound kind of a thing. And we'll see you next week. So bye for now.